Hey everybody, welcome to Dead Talk Live. And tonight our special guest is the founder of the slasher app, Damon Della Greca. Damon, thank you for being our guest. How you doing, man?
Good, man. Thank you. I appreciate it. This is awesome.
This is going to be so much fun. I interview a lot of horror people.
Mm.
And you'd be amazed, a lot of actors, the filmmakers are horror fans, but a lot of the actors that we love to watch in these horror movies
Mhm.
are not that big of fans of horror movies. They're actually, I
Yeah.
would say the majority of them are quite scared. But with that being said, right off the bat, I got to ask you, and I'm pretty sure I know the answer. Horror fans are by far the most loyal, devoted fans in the world. Do you agree?
Oh, totally. Totally. You know, when people ask me what the community is like, I kind of say, well, like the sports fans that are super passionate about not only their sport but their team.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's kind of like that and then some. So,
Absolutely.
oh yeah.
And horror fans all over the world, it's not like you can walk down the street and say, that's a horror fan or that's a horror fan. Nothing like that. You,
Right.
now there are a lot of horror communities online, lots of them, whether it's Reddit, blogs, whatnot. You have managed to bring it all together in Slasher, the app that's available on iOS and Android devices. So let's go back and tell us, how did this idea start percolating in your mind to do
Mhm.
this?
Um, I had been going to the conventions for a pretty long time. And, I would always end up hearing about one that just happened or one that's gonna happen that I didn't get a hotel room for, or tickets for, or whatever. And it was kind of like at that time I was online enough where it should have been a hell of a lot easier for me to find shit. So I was just like, wow, like I'm having a tough time finding
Yeah,
things, and I would imagine that I'm not the only person in the same
no.
situation. And um, like hanging out with a lot of the vendors and talking with a lot of the vendors who I've become friends with over the years, um, I found out that they were in the same predicament. So I was like, all right, I can do something about this.
Mm-hmm.
This I get. So it ended up at first being a shared calendar that I found every single horror convention in the U.S. and Canada. I found some other conventions too that were kind of like, um, you know,
Science
adjacent to
fiction,
horror.
maybe.
Yeah, like sci-fi, comic cons, tattoo conventions, things
Mm-hmm.
like that. So I put them all in this calendar, and I just sent the link to a bunch of people, and it was like, hey, if you want to go to any shows together, or you just want to know what's going on, here, check this out. Um, so that was kind of cool. That was a useful thing. But when I was doing that, the gears started to turn, and I'm like, there's a lot more here. Um, because if I wasn't finding out about the conventions, what else am I not finding out about? Because
Exactly.
when I go to these things, a lot of times it's the first time hearing about like certain indie movies and different brands and stuff like that. So I was like, all right, there's definitely more here. And then when I started seeing things like Twitter accounts being taken down um, for posts that were essentially fiction and
Yeah,
and fantasy and special effects makeup being censored because the makeup was that good.
yeah.
It appeared like it was gory stuff. We all know that's not real,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it really that put me over the top, and I was like, you know what, this is a bigger thing. It's not just not finding conventions. It's not being so segmented as we are. It's there's a bigger problem here of us not being able to enjoy the artistry and the creativity that is horror.
Mm-hmm.
So coming up with all these things and seeing all this stuff kind of building and snowballing, I really just sat down and put pen to paper and just said, all right, well, what are my options? What can I do? And of course, the first thing after seeing like those accounts taken down in Twitter and seeing a lot of stuff on Instagram and the fact that the horror hashtag on Instagram is
It
censored.
is. A lot of people don't know that. And
No, it's
everybody,
amazing.
yeah, who's on Instagram,
Hmm.
if you hashtag horror, you're going to get a big no no. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's not allowed.
Yeah, and when people search for it, it's like, it brings up this message like, are you okay? Uh,
Hmm.
and the implication there was kind of astounding to me, because what does society think of horror fans who are just enjoying a genre of book or film or
Hmm.
art or whatever it is? It may not be the prettiest, but it's certainly relevant, in every aspect of life, really. So to say that you can't enjoy this the way that you want to, or the way that the artist intends for you to,
Hmm.
I think there's something inherently wrong with that, because
I
that's a
agree.
degree of censorship that is not just saying we don't want this here, but the way they were saying it is kind of like saying there's something wrong with you.
Hmm.
And I took serious issue with that. So I said, you know what, these platforms can all go to hell. You know,
Absolutely.
I need to do something more, and in a way that we can enjoy it and feel comfortable in our own skin, because so many people come on and they're like, they'll message me and tell me like, hey, I finally found a place where I feel like I could be myself. And to know that people can't feel like that in their everyday life, that's really something,
It
man. I mean,
is. And
I would hate to feel that.
what a lot of people don't understand is I'm a horror fan because I like to get scared. All
Yeah.
right, I watch slasher flicks. I love watching the makeup effects, like you
Yeah.
mentioned. I love the artistry that goes behind it, and
Mhm.
then you have the legends in this industry, like the Tom Savinis, who mastered makeup, and to see their craft. Uh, it's a treat, and that's what I think non-horror fans don't understand. And you take these big other social media platforms, whether it be Twitter or Instagram, Facebook, and whatnot, and yeah, they their age, the minimum age on these platforms is 13. Okay.
Right. Mhm.
And I'm sure they've gotten some backlash from parents wanting to protect their children, not seeing graphic stuff. So yeah, as a parent, I get it, but they have taken it to such an extreme where it makes us as horror fans feel like outcasts.
Well, the problem I have with that, and that's perfectly relevant. I mean, that's perfectly reasonable, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you would think if they're trying to protect, younger kids and stuff like that from seeing things that they shouldn't, sure, that's understandable. Not everyone wants their kids to see that. I get it. However, on the same platform that openly allows porn
Yeah.
without any issue, um, it's a mixed message. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with porn. I'm just saying the message is not right.
Yeah.
They're very certainly singling us out, when they do have that kind of double standard, and that's really the issue. It's not about what they allow and what they don't allow. It's the fact that they're picking and choosing
Mm-hmm.
what's okay and what's not, and whether we're okay or we're not.
Yeah, and I totally agree with you. And just bringing up porn, not even straight up porn, but seeing these influencers who
Mhm.
are, flashing their bodies and they're influencing younger boys and girls, to me, that's much more problematic as a parent. I have a daughter, I have two sons.
Yeah, yeah.
Rather than them scrolling a social media platform and seeing a little 5-second screenshot of a movie of somebody getting their throat sliced, which they know is fake. So yeah,
Yeah.
I totally get you. So kudos for you know doing what you did and creating slasher. So now you got the idea, you wanted to do something about it. What was your next step after that?
Well, I spent several months doing a whole bunch of research, putting an enormous plan together, which we're not even seeing a fraction of right now, um, and really just spending time really thinking about it and diving in, to see what kind of opportunities there are for people, and like what we can do to experience together, um, what's important to people.
Hmm.
I really wanted to spend time figuring that out and making sure that that's something that I could deliver.
Yeah.
um, it ultimately came down to a plan to support horror as a genre, not just horror fans, not just professionals, but the entire genre. If it's within horror, I want to be there providing opportunity for people to either find new stuff, to get their name out there, to have fun, to feel like themselves, like the way they want to feel.
Hmm.
Um, these are all things that are 100% a part of the 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 reason that this exists,
Yeah.
and what I hope to accomplish. It's really just to give everybody a place that we can all be together, find stuff easily, enjoy one another, have fun, sling some memes or jokes that
Yeah.
we'll understand, um, and just make it a good time. Because when you go to the conventions, I very rarely hear that people have had a bad time,
No.
you know, and it's usually, um, people just have a great time because they like being around other people like them. They have fun. There's no nonsense and stuff like that. It's enjoyable, you
You're
know.
in a shared community. It feels like
Right.
family.
Yeah.
I love watching the people come up who come in dressed up in cosplay.
Yeah.
Of course, the vendors, and you have the guests. For me, I have been to the Comic Cons. I have been to the smallest conventions. I think the small conventions are way funner because of the more intimate environment they offer. What do you think?
Oh, I totally agree. Especially the ones that are in the hotels.
Yeah,
Um, there's one that I go to that's the first convention I've ever been to, um, and that's Monster Mania in Cherry Hill, New Jersey.
yeah.
Um, that I call like my home convention, even though it's not the closest one to me. That's the first one I've been to. It's the one that I make a point to that's the one I have to go to every time.
Hmm.
Um, so that is exactly that. It's its own little ecosystem. You're in the hotel all weekend with these people, and you know you're just having fun. It's a good time, um, and it's really as much of an escape from everything else as you could possibly have.
Exactly.
Um, so that kind of stuff is that I agree that's where it's at. When you go to these expo centers and convention halls and stuff like that, where maybe the hotel's down the road or something, or even next door,
Hmm.
that's okay,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not the same.
It's not intimate, and
You
I
know,
mean the guests first of all are behind curtains. You can't even
right?
see them.
Yeah,
So I mean, yeah, there's some pluses to those, but for me, I like the more intimate environment. My
yeah,
first convention, I mean, we're going back to the '90s, was
hmm,
Fangoria's Weekend of Horrors,
nice.
where going back into the '90s, it's not like it is today, where you literally have a convention every weekend going on somewhere around the country.
It's true.
Back then, it was really Comic Con, which was just about comics. It's
Yeah,
not anywhere near what it is today. And
right.
then you have Fangoria
Mhm.
with Anthony Timpone, who was the editor in chief at that point, coming up with Weekend of Horrors. And it was, around the country. I grew up in New York City, so I would go to the one in New York City. It was right across the street from Madison Square Garden.
Yep.
We stayed at the hotel, even though we lived in New York. It was a fun experience, and I got to meet some great people. I got to hear Clive Barker speak, and man, that's just a treat. So now, when did Slasher officially hit the App Store on iPhones, iOS, and Android?
So it officially launched May 31st, 2019.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, so we're approaching 3 years online.
And it goes to show you when you start something new, there's
Mhm.
a lot of work. People don't understand the work that
Yeah.
goes into this to bring it the attention that you think it deserves. So it
Right.
launches May of 2019. Now, I got to ask you this question from my tech nerd side of me. Are you a coder? Did you have anything to say, or did you bring somebody else to code the app and all that?
I don't code anymore. I
Okay.
used to do some coding back in like the late 90s and stuff like that. Like I would do some websites, but no. This is way above
Yeah,
where I am. And I really didn't have the time or interest to learn something new, to be honest with you.
I got you.
Um, so I figure, you know what? In order to get this done, let me let people do this who really understand what they're doing way better than I will anytime soon. So it was really just,
Oh, I totally agree.
yeah.
You can't, because that's a full time job in itself. Now, you as the founder, once
Mhm.
the app is ready to go live, you have a full time job doing what you do. So
Right.
when it does hit the App Store,
Mhm.
now walk us through what did you go to do to start getting this app, public recognition?
Um, I mean, I just I was as scrappy as I can be, which is not very really saying a whole lot. Like I'm terrible at promoting. So yeah, but no, I went on Facebook, on Instagram and stuff like that, and I started to just tell people about it, tell people what I was doing, what was going on, where we are. Um, that
And
was
at which point did so it came out in 2019.
kind of.
When did the actual active users really you start to notice start to steadily increase?
Um, Honestly, I mean, it was from day one, but that's not saying much, you know. Um, it's not like the floodgates opened,
Okay.
because people have this belief where if you build it, they will come, and that is the farthest thing from the
Right.
truth. Um, I had to struggle to get, I think, maybe 150 users the first day, um, something like that.
That's actually
And
pretty good for the first day.
well, I mean, it was and it wasn't. Like it was because yeah, it's this little app out of nowhere who gave a shit.
Hmm.
But I did spend a good couple of months talking about it and trying to get people to know that hey, this is a thing that's coming out. Um, so those were the people who were kind of like waiting in the wings for the most part.
Hmm.
Um, and then maybe a couple of weeks later, a few weeks later, something like that. It was probably close to a month that we even hit like 1,000 people, and it was several months until there was like I think 4,000.
Not bad. Are
So
are you allowed to share how many active users you currently have?
not just yet.
Okay. All right.
I,
I
I'm
didn't think
I'm
so.
trying to. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I'm waiting till I hit a certain milestone
Okay.
until I'm like ready to talk about it. But I can say like on average, there are about 3 million post views or post impressions. So every time somebody posts something, the um the number of posts that people see every month is about 3 million right now, or on
Wow.
average.
Wow.
Yeah. Um.
The way I
So.
heard about Slasher, and this is
Mhm,
no joke, a couple of months ago, one
mhm.
of our team members, they were discussing with another team member about this horror app. So I just saw it in the team chat that we have.
Yeah.
Finally, I asked him, "What the hell is this slasher thing?" And they told me, and I went to the App Store, I got it, I signed up, and I fell in love with it. Now, Slasher has a lot of things more than people sharing posts and whatnot.
Oh yeah.
You have a movie database, which
Mhm.
I think is a phenomenal idea. Uh, Tell us
Thank
your idea behind that movie database.
Well, so the movie database was really because the the people that seem most active online are horror movie lovers,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I figured why not have something that we're really that we already love, and be able to just dive in further
Yeah.
and even find new stuff. Um, because that's where we'll be able to really share things and discover new stuff that we haven't seen before, even if it's old.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I just thought to myself that would be really cool to be able to go in there to like rate movies, to talk about them, to share them, because that's what so many of us do love. Um, so why not hit that mark and make something that's that much more fun and that much more immersive. We could watch the trailers, we could do all that kind of stuff. Um, so yeah, that's kind of where my head was at. Was like,
Yeah.
what can make this more fun and enjoyable, useful? And that
Since
was
since I started this show to where we are now, which is only 21 months in since we
oh
started this
wow,
show,
that's awesome.
I have realized that I now can give a voice to independent filmmakers, and that
Right.
means a lot to me. How does
Yeah.
that feel to you, being able to list these independent films, get them a platform to where they can go and share with horror fans? Hey, this is our movie coming out. What are your feelings on that?
I mean, that's really what I wanted to do. I wanted to be able to kind of level that playing field because I know how difficult it is from firsthand experience being on Facebook and Instagram and
Hmm.
Twitter and all these different things, trying to have a voice, but being knocked down.
Yeah,
Because you can have 250,000 followers, but how many of them are actually going to get your posts in their feed?
exactly.
That's the trick. It's the algorithms that are beating everything back, and it's almost a pay to play situation.
Hmm.
Um, so unless you're posting stuff that people really really love, and you get a lot of people to like your stuff and to engage and to comment and all that kind of stuff, it's very very difficult. Um, and I think a lot of people out there understand this, and they experience this themselves as well, because you know getting 10,000, 100,000 followers on any platform is like, that's massive.
Hmm.
So there was either a lot of effort, um, a lot of luck, which I don't know if I quite believe in that so much, or a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know, so um, being able to put something together to say, you know what, right now, if you post something, all your friends are going to get it on their timelines.
Hmm.
Um, so rather than having like 5 or 10% of your followers see something on Instagram,
Hmm.
or at least have it appear on their timelines,
Hmm.
100% of those people that you're friends with, that you're connected with, will see it on Slasher, or will
Yeah.
at least get it on their timeline. Um, so that's the difference, and that's really the goal here is to help people be found.
Yeah.
I want to see really cool indie films. I
Hmm.
love them. Whenever I go to the conventions, I love to go by the tables of all the filmmakers, of all the releasing companies and stuff like that, because I want to see what's going on. I don't have time to spend like just surfing Tubi or
No.
Shutter or something like that. Like, I want to go in, um, and talk to the people who were involved and learn, like, what is this movie? What is this about? And hear the excitement in their voice, sort of sharing about, like, this is their work, this is their thing that they did, that they're proud of.
Yeah.
They put it out there for other people to see, to share it. um I like to have that experience, so I kind of wanted to offer that same opportunity, to everybody, to be able to do that. Like,
Hmm.
I want to find stuff just as much as somebody wants to be found. So I'm just trying to simplify that connection as much as possible.
And today it is so difficult because we are literally drowning in content.
That's for sure.
To find something, I mean, I've resorted to a point that before I even sit on my couch in front of my TV, I got to do some online research first.
Yeah, I
Because the
know.
days of opening up a platform or going through your channels, you're not going to find anything that you might be looking for. Now, when it comes to international out,
Mhm.
horror films. There are some really amazing films out there. For me, I think Asia, South Korea, Indonesia put out some really amazing films. What are your thoughts on international horror films?
Oh, man, so my favorite zombie movie is Train to Busan,
Yeah,
without a doubt. Um, it's one of the most thoughtful films I've seen, really, especially a foreign film. Like it was just made so well.
it was.
They tell a story and they make you care about the characters. That's that's so critical, you know,
It
because
is.
once you're emotionally involved, that's the movie, you
Yep,
know. Um,
exactly. And it's a non-stop, just it never takes its foot off the gas. Now with slasher, you said we haven't even seen a fraction of what your plan is. Uh, in regard to the near future, what new features should we expect?
well, as stupid and simple as this is going to sound, hashtags are an important thing that I want to bring in.
Okay.
I think it's going to help people find more of what they want more easily,
Mm-hmm.
and be able to share stuff and get out there a little bit more effectively. Um, so that's one thing. Um, Believe it or not, the dating section is going to get a nice overhaul because I know that there's a lot of people who've been excited to use it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it wasn't quite at the point where I was ready to start promoting it actively
Yeah.
because it was super basic.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna spruce that up a bit and get it to a point where I'm comfortable actually really getting out there and promoting it. And it's totally free right now, but being that I haven't really promoted it much, I mean, there's a lot of people, but it just kind of depends on the area, I think.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
but that's something that's gonna be coming soon. And there's other stuff like making it available on the web, like on a
Mm.
web browser versus just the app. That's going to help me reach people internationally a lot more easily.
Yeah.
Um, it's going to give people who are who work handling social media accounts. It's going to give them a more easy way to do their work and to help people with their accounts through the website versus through the app.
Absolutely.
Um,
I mean, there's a
yeah.
place for mobile devices, but
Mhm.
like you said, if you're doing any kind of work, you got to be in front of a PC. Now,
Right.
there is one feature going back to the movie database
Mhm.
where you offer a buy button for a movie. I have not actually clicked that, so I don't know what it does. So when people
Okay.
are scrolling the movie database or
Right.
they search for a movie and they click on it and they see the option to buy, what does
Mhm.
that actually do?
I wish it was doing what it sounds like, but no, those are just lists. So it's like if you want to buy that movie at some point, it's like, you checked out the trailer, you've read the comments on it, and it's like, okay, I want to buy this movie. So you put it on your buy list.
Okay.
So you're really just adding it to a list.
It's like a shopping list.
Right, right.
Yeah.
I wish it had the capability to sell it to you right then and there. Um,
That's a
but
whole other matter there.
yeah, that's maybe a couple of years away.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
But yeah.
but I mean that's just it's such a small fraction, and just scrolling through the timeline, and
Mhm,
I see how people interact when people first sign up for the app. They get a
mhm,
welcome letter from yourself, and you
right.
basically express, you're free to share everything related to horror. You can do, you can promote your podcast, your whatever kind of show, a movie, anything like that. What are some no do's on the app that are not allowed?
Um, don't promote your shit in messages to people,
Yeah,
especially if they didn't ask for them.
yeah.
Um, the you know it tends to annoy people.
It's
They
spam.
don't say it. Yeah, it's spam. Like they may not say it. They may even say thanks. That's just because they don't want to be rude.
Yeah,
But the fact of the matter is, if everybody went in there and did that, imagine how clogged up your messages would be with crap versus like you're just talking to your friends,
yeah,
and you can't find their messages because now you have all these messages clogging up your stuff. you know, that may not be relevant to you. Maybe you don't like podcasts or you don't want to see this particular movie.
Mm-hmm.
But if people ask for it, it's fair game,
Yeah.
you know? Um, so it's really just to keep everybody happy
Mm-hmm.
and to keep things running nice and smoothly. I mean,
That's
people can promote on
perfectly
their
fair.
timelines. They
Yeah,
could
that's
buy
perfectly
advertising if
fair.
they want.
Yeah.
They have all this opportunity. That's really invasive,
Yeah.
and I hear about it all the time, because people don't complain to the people that are spamming them. They complain to me.
Yeah.
And look, I want to see everyone be successful. I want to see everyone do well. But I just have to make sure that I'm maintaining their ability to do that, because what happens is when people get spammed, sometimes they'll just straight up leave the app completely. I have seen a number of people do that,
Wow.
and it's unfortunate. And the thing about that is, it's kind of like if somebody's out there spamming, they're shooting themselves in the foot by reducing their audience.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
I want to give them the most that they could possibly get, and and maximize their opportunity. So I'd rather see somebody have 150,000 friends and just post once a week rather than message 150,000 people who are going to get annoyed and not do anything.
That is totally fair, and I totally agree with you. Now, on Slasher, I want to point out to everyone, it's not like well, it can. You find someone and then you follow them without any kind of permission. It's basically requesting to be your friend, and they
Right.
either accept or decline. 99% of the people accept. There's no
Right.
reason why not to.
Mhm.
Was that fundamental to how you wanted it to work?
It is. I don't like the concept of having a one-way situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and it kind of goes back to that whole vibe that you get on Instagram and Twitter.
Yeah.
You can follow 250,000 people. You might get 200 following you back.
Yeah.
That kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, I like to make sure that things are fair and equitable. So it's like, if you want me to see your stuff, you have to see my stuff too.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to see my stuff, then you can just unfriend me.
Exactly.
I was actually having this conversation with somebody in detail yesterday, because they have, we were talking about, like, they are friends with people that sometimes post a lot of stuff that is basically like an advertisement or promotion for their stuff, which people are allowed to do that.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the idea. But if you don't want to see that stuff, then you have to decide, like, if this is really something I don't want to experience, and maybe there's like one or two posts I do want to experience, you have to make that choice, unfortunately. Like, is friending this person worth it to
Yeah.
you? Because the follow unfollow method, just, it doesn't work quite the same way. And also, people get friends and build their networks faster than any other platform on Slasher.
Yeah, that's true.
You have people coming in going, wow, I just got like 100 friends in less than 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll check out their Instagram and it's like 54.
Mm-hmm.
And they've been on for a year.
Yeah.
So all this is kind of part of the plan to give people opportunity, to have a fun and enjoyable experience. Sure, you have to, like, curate your friends a little bit, but that's what's going to give you the experience you want to have.
Mm-hmm.
It's totally up to you.
And what most people want to do on Slasher is just share their common interest. That's it.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
pretty basic. Now, I assume it's more than just you that's operating this thing, especially the amount of users that you have. How many people does Slasher have helping out?
Well, there's right now I think there's about 7 developers.
Okay.
But they're really just handling the coding and all the back end tech stuff. There's a few moderators. but that's really it. And they're just volunteers, so they just kind of do it whenever they're able.
Have you thought about, as this continues to grow and gain more and more popularity,
Hmm.
let's say if you get approached by the entertainment industry, we want to start advertising on
Sure.
Slasher. Sponsors saying,
Mhm.
hey, can we have your users start branding our stuff? What are your feelings towards that?
I mean, I'm more than happy to take on advertisers. Um, you know, it really just kind of comes down to at what level they're looking to do things.
Hmm.
I'm not selling users. I'm not selling my user database. So like nobody's personal information is getting out there. I, I I personally feel that that's not really cool
No.
because when I get emails from all these places and I'm like, how the hell did this like company get my email address
Same
that's
here,
not
yeah.
published anywhere? It's frustrating, and the last thing I want to do is frustrate people who are kind enough to use my app.
Yeah.
Um, so um, selling personal information like that is definitely not something I'm interested in doing. Um, but selling ad space or something along those lines, yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to do things like that. I'm happy to form different types of partnerships, like our news area. We have some really cool partnerships
Hmm.
that we've set up there. Um, Again, it's a mutually beneficial situation, and that's
Exactly.
that's really how I like to run things. Yeah, I like to
And
make
it
sure that
brings information to the user himself. And like you said,
right.
it benefits everyone. Now let's go to you personally. Have you been a
Mhm.
horror fan your whole life?
Since about 9. Yep.
uh, Starting at 9, what kind of horror were you watching back then that got you into it?
Man. The first horror movie that I saw was Poltergeist. I
Oh,
happened to catch it on cable, and I was just like completely freaked out. Um, that's one of the horror movies that I remember where it's like there was this whole unwritten rule, at least for a while, where kids were off limits.
mm-hmm.
Like the kids were like the main target in this movie.
Oh yeah.
And I was like, oh, great! This is my first movie at 9 years old. Like, and like these like spirits are going after these kids and abducting them into some parallel universe or whatever. And it's like, holy crap! So yeah, that was the best possible thing I could have seen first.
For me, it was for me it was the original Halloween. It scared the
Nice.
shit out of me. I was like 5 or 6. What do you think of the current state of the horror industry? I think it's at an all-time peak. What do you think?
I agree completely. Um, I think that there's a lot of creativity out there that's really starting to push its way through,
Mm-hmm.
which I think is awesome. Because when you have people who could do like huge budget studio movies and they're willingly working on horror, I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
You know,
I
um,
mean, people, directors like James,
yeah,
just James Wong and all these paranormal movies. For me, my favorite subgenre, because it still scares me, is the paranormal subgenre.
yep,
But like I said earlier, I will definitely enjoy a good slasher flick. I love zombie flicks
mm,
for the effects and, of course, the character building. I'm not all about just seeing blood splatter across the screen for 90 minutes. I want a good story. In regards to you, personal, do you have moments where, you know what, I want to just sit back and watch a gore fest on the screen? How important is the
yeah.
storyline to you and the psychological part of a film?
It depends. In all honesty, um, like I like if it's a serious horror movie. Um, I definitely like a good story.
Hmm.
Like I said, Train to Busan is an amazing example. Um, but then I like completely ridiculous things too. You know, like I was at one of the conventions and I was talking to one of the guys over at Wild Eye, and we were talking about Velocipaster. So I have a copy of Velocipaster, and I watched it with a couple of friends one night, and I could not stop cackling. It was just absolutely absurd. It was perfectly ridiculous, but it was done in such a way that it was completely ripping on itself,
Mm-hmm.
and it knew it the whole time. And that's really what I liked about it. It was very tongue in cheek. Let's make fun of ourselves in the best possible ways we can. Um, so completely absurd things like that. I love and really need every once in a while, because it's one of those things where you really just don't have to think about it. Just sit back and like dive in.
Exactly, exactly. What about TV? Now, horror has really come on television in a big way.
Yeah.
Of course, The Walking Dead, the zombies. Zombies are a big thing now. The
Mhm.
Walking Dead, you could say, revived them from the end of the '80s to 2010. There was a sort of a lull in zombies. What do you feel about the state of horror on television or digital streaming, which is sort of kind of the same thing?
I think it's great. I mean, I really enjoyed the new Chucky series.
Oh,
I
that was
thought that was
amazing.
really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and with that, um, with Netflix coming out with new stuff, especially series like fairly regularly.
Hmm.
You've got everything from Stranger Things to the new series Archive 81, which I just started.
Yeah.
Um, there's so much cool stuff and really interesting ideas and concepts and creativity that we're getting to see now, which I think is really cool. It's definitely fun to see new ideas, stuff that maybe hasn't been done or
Hmm.
is being done in a new way with a new spin or something like that, that makes it feel fresh.
Yeah.
That doesn't make it feel like another trope.
Exactly.
Um, I think that's really terrific. But yeah, I mean, having having stuff come out is really good right now, especially since it seems like the majority of it is really quality.
And
Um,
here's something interesting. With the pandemic that's been going on now for 2 years,
yeah.
the horror industry has flourished.
Oh yeah.
And you would think with all the horrors that we're living in the real world, people would want to escape to something else when they sit down in front of their television. But
Mhm.
no, they are more than ever attracted. The horror industry has actually grown since the
Yeah.
start of the pandemic.
Yeah. Absolutely. I really like a lot of the psychology behind why horror is helpful,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, people do turn to it, and it is therapeutic to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately it's escapism, because there are things that are just so extreme or so seemingly impossible that you go on this roller coaster ride, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a complete mess of a nightmarish disasters,
Yeah.
but then at the end you come out and you're okay.
Yeah.
You went on this really really wild ride, and you're there, you're okay, and apparently at that point it's like, well, apparently it seems things could be a lot worse,
Yeah.
you
Exactly.
know so you've gone through that whole experience, and you're no worse for wear. So
It is
I,
therapeutic in a way.
yeah, and it's cool that a lot of people are sort of discovering horror because they've got a lot of time,
Mm-hmm.
and there's only so much content that they can watch, that a lot of people, I still know people who are they do their work in the day, and as soon as they're done, you know maybe they'll exercise and have dinner and like sit down and like watch movies or TV or series or
Exactly.
whatever. um and there's no better way to escape the craziness of reality than to just explore something even crazier.
Absolutely. Would you say that slasher like is a full time job for you right now? It just takes up the majority of your day.
it it is absolutely like I'm spending at least 12 hours a day on it. Um, and that's not even the only thing I do. I have a whole other company, but so yeah, I spend a lot of time on it. But I love what I do,
Oh
and
yeah.
if I have the opportunity to do nothing but this, I'm going to take it because there's really nothing I'd rather do than do something that I not only love but can help other people in the process.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to me, that's a really, really powerful thing.
And you've done something great, Damon. Like I said when we started this interview, there are and have been communities online for a while, horror
Mhm.
communities. You have brought it all together, and I think that's why Slasher has been successful, and it's going to continue to grow on its success. So thank you on behalf of me and all the other horror fans for giving us Slasher and a way to share and meet fellow horror fans. Uh, this has been I can't believe we're already almost 47 minutes in. I want to thank you so much for being on our show tonight. If you have the opportunity, because you said you have a whole other company, is
Mhm.
Slasher, if everything works out the way you want it to be your main focus?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, technically, it's my main focus now,
Yeah.
but yeah, if I was able to do nothing but this, I would absolutely be doing nothing but this, and I would dedicate 100% of my time to it. It's really, it's just, it's so much fun, and it's really important to me to help other people. You know, I can't think of another way that I can really accomplish all the same goals in one shot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I think it's terrific.
Do you still have time to go to conventions and stuff, or that's just you don't have the time anymore? Oh, I think you froze. Oh, yeah, I think we lost him there. Damon, you there? Oh, I think we lost him, guys. Anyway, I want to thank Damon for being our guest tonight. I think he's plugging in headphones. Let's see. No, no, his screen is freezing. We lost him, guys. Anyway, I want to thank Damon for being our guest tonight. Thank you all for tuning in. Till next time, stay safe. And on behalf of Damon, Della, Greca, and myself, stay walking and check out the Slasher app. It's available on iOS and Android. Thank you. Good night, everybody.